In 2024, Nottingham Forest set a new Premier League record, avoiding relegation with the fewest points ever earned. As a result of this and a seemingly bizarre transfer strategy, many thought that the club wouldn't survive the following season. But in December 2024, at the halfway point, Nuno Espírito Santo's side sat third amongst the elite of the league, and with as many points as Leicester City had at the same stage en route to their 2015-16 title. It's a surprising success for a team that most expected to fail. So, how did it happen? Firstly, there's a very clear approach on the pitch. Since his arrival in December 2023, head coach Nuno Espírito Santo has rejected the possession-based style played by most other top teams in the league. Forest saw less of the ball than anyone except bottom side Sheffield United in 23-24, and no side has averaged less possession this season. Instead, he's built his Forest side on a solid defence. There's a lot of focus on a backline containing Murillo, Nico Williams and Ola Aina, all of whom were already in place for the latter part of last season. The only addition to the defensive unit was Nikola Milenkovic, who at just £12 million has proved incredible value for money. The 6'4" Serbian international has brought aerial ability to an otherwise shorter than average defence. This, in turn, has improved Forest markedly at set pieces, previously an area of critical concern. After 20 games played this season, Forest have conceded the fewest goals from set pieces in the league. During defensive corners, the team has switched from man-to-man to a zonal marking system, with Murillo, Ryan Yates and Chris Wood all playing key roles in defending the space around goalkeeper Matt Sells. And the Belgian himself is on course to become the first goalkeeper from outside the Big Six to win the Premier League Golden Glove, and has brought stability to a position where the club has struggled since the departure of Bryce Samba in 2022. So all things considered, Forest have arguably the most effective defence in England this season. Only Arsenal have conceded fewer goals, and no side has kept out more expected goals. All of which set the stage for the other big improvement, holding on to leads. In the 23-24 season, Forest won just 9 of the 19 games in which they took the lead. 20 games into this season, that's now 12 from 15. And flexibility of approach is a big part of this. Nuno has tended to start with a 4-2-3-1 formation, but has regularly tweaked that to a 3-4-2-1 to help see out matches, with centre-back Morato regularly coming on for a central midfielder or winger. And while the team has improved defensively in order to protect leads, in order to take them, Forest's attacking output has also had to improve. And it has. Building upon a solid defence that soaks up the pressure, the rest of the team hits rapidly on the counter. It's a simple and familiar approach, but it's executed well, and it's been very effective for Forest. And perhaps the biggest beneficiary of this tactic is striker Chris Wood. The veteran New Zealander has 13 goals in 21 games so far, continuing his run of the previous season, during which he scored 6 in his final 10 games. Wood is of course a seasoned striker who scored over 50 goals for Burnley in his time there, but his finishes at Forest have been more varied, and perhaps surprisingly just 4 have been headed goals, meaning that the diversity of the types of goals that Wood is scoring is greater than some might have expected, a huge contribution to the team's success on the pitch. And off the pitch, Forest have had an interesting strategy. After winning promotion to the Premier League in 2022, eccentric owner Evangelos Marinakis oversaw a near-complete but necessary overhaul of the squad. Across the 2022-23 season, the club signed a massive 30 players. Most were failures, and of that group, just 7 remain at the club 2 years later. The following year, it seemed that little had changed as Forest again brought in 17 more players, and the volume was such that it had even become a source of mockery amongst rival fans. But this time, unlike the scattergun approach of the previous year, players were signed with a clear idea in mind: get the ball forward quickly. And while there were still plenty of misses, hits like Murillo, Callum Hudson-Odoi and Anthony Elanga were prioritised for the directness of their play. This approach continued into the summer of 2024, where additions like Elliot Anderson helped mould Forest into one of the world's most effective transition teams. And while it's hard to argue that this transfer strategy was particularly cohesive or initially refined, it is currently borne out in results. This kind of large-scale trial and error approach might not be the most efficient, but ultimately it did lead to their current success, in this timeline at least. So, a hugely improved defence, consistency in positive game states, and a refining transfer strategy turning out players effective for the system. The obvious question for 2025 is, can they keep it up? And the data suggests that that could be difficult. Far from their league position high up the table, Forest sit just 15th for expected goals created, while Chris Wood in particular is on the hot streak of his career, with 12 goals from just 7.2 xG at the halfway point. The team has also been relatively fortunate with fitness. Only West Ham's players have missed fewer days due to injuries this season, and of course if a key injury did occur, then Forest would likely suffer even with some relative strength and depth. One positive though is that Forest have already played many of their most difficult fixtures this season. They've travelled to Arsenal, Chelsea and Manchester City, and were the only team to beat Liverpool in the first half of the season. So from a team mocked for their seemingly wild transfer strategy, right on the edge of relegation from the league, Nuno Espírito Santo has led Forest's emergence as one of 2024-25's most impressive sides. A title race is admittedly unlikely, but with 5th place currently tracking to be an automatic Champions League qualification spot, Nottingham Forest's opportunity to return to European football's elite competition is very real. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. The Athletic is home to some of the world's best sports journalists, including David Ornstein, Daniel Taylor, Ollie Kay, Amy Lawrence and James Horncastle. With the latest transfer news and insight on every Premier League football story that matters, theathletic.com puts you inside football. And you can try it for free now for 30 days. See the link in the description.